What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. After Sound here, bringing you Splinterlands content every single day. We also stream right here on this channel every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday morning, so come by and say hello. All right, guys, let's talk about the Soulbound reward cards that were recently unlocked. It's been about 48 hours, maybe a little bit more than 48 hours at the time of recording this video. Since that unlocking became available, we've since burned over 50 million DEC to unlock these cards, which is phenomenal progress so far in 2 days. But I wanted to take a closer look at the pricing overall, because that was one of the biggest concerns going into this, that it was just going to price people out and it was too expensive, and the 10x to 15x multiplier was just going to be too much. So let's actually start in the commons. And now that we've seen the pricing stabilize, or at least so far stabilize to a decent extent, you can see here that, okay, so common cards are going for 4 to 5 cents. These, I would say, are probably the most reasonable, and this is very much in line with the amount that it costs in order to unlock them, right? So you have a 5 DEC burn value, multiply that by 10, that gets you 50 DEC, which is about 5 cents at peg, and granted, we're well below peg, so these are technically trading higher than what you could unlock them for at this point in time. But it's not outrageous, right? At least not compared to the other commons here. Now, yes, would it still cost you 4 to 5 times the amount, right, to unlock them? To buy them versus the other cards? Yes, but this is what we're talking about in terms of preserving the value. If these cards, right, ever go down to a penny, that would actually be a bad sign for me, right? You can see here that there's a very, very few amount of them for sale, right? 400, 500, right, in terms of total cards that are available for sale, versus like the thousands that we have in a lot of these older cards. And keep in mind, especially with the older cards too, and I see there's only 578 here, but even with the older cards, they have been basically, there's been so low demand for them for a long time that there's probably just a ton that are sitting in accounts that have no intention to sell them or will come back and sell them later, right? So there's still a lot of cards out there. Whereas here you can see what has been unlocked for the purposes of selling, and we're only in the hundreds, right? So keep that in mind. Now, I don't know how many, let's go to like level 1, for example. So you can see here, or let's go to max level. Okay, there's only a couple of max level cards, but so we'll keep it at, let's keep it at level 1 just to make it easy. Now, keep in mind, it takes 400 cards to max them out. So at this point in time, you're looking at maybe a max copy for some, not even a max copy for others, right? In terms of the single BCXs that are out there. So just something interesting to think about as we go along. Now let's check out some of the other rarities. I guess we can go rarity by rarity. Now this is not surprising to me for rares. Now let's actually talk this through, right? So with rares, you're going to be doing 20 DEC is the burn value, which means 200 DEC is the unlock or unbind value. So that's about 20 cents at peg. Obviously, we're not at peg, but we're trading below 20 cents. And these are the summoners, right? These are the ones that I think actually could have a lot of long-term value. And if we go to level 1, you'll see 115 BCX is what you need to max these out. There's not even 100, there's not even 150 BCX for some of these cards right here. Some of the summoners seem like they have a lot, and there's a lot of like the Helios Matriarch, for example. But, on the whole, here we are once again with, again, I think it's decent pricing, but I'm sure, it's definitely, it's 10x or 5x. Actually, it's probably closer to 10x what these other cards here are going for. And these are trading probably well or around their burn value too. All right, so epics, let's check these bad boys out. Now, these are going to be, I believe it's 100 is the burn value. So you'd need 1,000 DEC, which is roughly $1. And there you go. You can see here, all these top tier ones are trading in the 70 to 80 cent range. That's right within line. And that's what I'm trying to say. Like, I don't see anything necessarily wrong with these, right? We want them to have value. We want them to preserve their value. What would be terrible, and I'll agree with, some of the detractors on this, what would be terrible is if people start buying these at like 88 cents right now, and then slowly over time, like they just continue to go down in value because nobody else wants to buy them. But what I'm excited about and why I think this strategy is actually going to work in the long run is because people are going to stop unlocking them, right? These are not being printed anymore, and people will only unlock them if they see that there is a demand there. If these start to fall to 50 cents, 40 cents, 30 cents, nobody's going to unlock them, and then we'll slowly eat through that inventory again, right? The floor price will rise, we'll eat through that inventory, and then people will either, make the decision on whether or not they want to unlock more based on the demand that's coming in. All right, finally, let's go over to the legendary cards. Now, these have a 500 DEC burn, so 5,000 DEC to unbind, which is roughly $5 at peg, and you can see some of these are trading well below that, which is really interesting. So you can go all the way down here to Tenacious Hulk, and this is trading at $3.44, which is probably close to where the burn value or value of DEC is right now, right? About 60 to 70%. So this kind of falls within that range. If you think about it, that'd be like $3 to $3.50 if I'm thinking about the math right. So yeah, these cards here are definitely interesting because they're right there at the burn value. But once again, I'm looking at level 1 here. It takes 11 BCX to max. So you have maybe 3 total for some of these, right? Like it's not much, maybe 4 or 5 here, right? Less than 2 here, less than 3 there. So, granted, the people who are playing the game right now are not needing full copies, is my guess, right? This is going to be for new players coming into the game. So that's why the next 6 months are going to be important as well as fascinating to watch, because if these new players come in, the only way that you can get these cards now is by buying them from previous players at these prices. And the idea being that they shouldn't really go down too far from this, based on where DEC is at, the unlock costs and all that. Now, granted, if we get into another extended bear market, right, I'm talking like 2026 or whatever, 2026, 2027, I wouldn't be surprised if all cards came down, right? Because that's just how we go in a cyclical kind of environment. But at this point in time, I think that this is not a terrible entry point. And if we want to, let me pull in the rest of Chaos Legion, for example. And actually, specifically, let's look at Rift Watchers, right? I would say that these cards being somewhat on par with your regular ones from Rift Watchers. And I'm not talking about Inevitable or Aggro Longtail. I mean, these are like super clutch for the meta. But, you look at some of the other cards here. Kane Haste, Runemancer Flore. Are there any other ones? Let's see. Actually, let's just go to Rift Watchers, for example. Runemancer Flore. I mean, they're actually more expensive than some of the Rift Watcher cards, which I guess, is what some of the detractors will say, right? But some of those cards are super meta anyway. And then, of course, they are going to be more expensive than the core. These things are obviously in the gutter. But the last thing that I'm going to check, and I know it's part of a different set completely, but if we go to the Rebellion Core Legendary cards, it is on par with a lot of these. And that's exactly what the team was going for by setting the unlock cost. You can see here that, the cards are still part of the meta. Now, granted, they don't have as long of a shelf life in Modern as some of these cards, but they're still, they still have value, and I think we're going to probably be in this meta longer than people realize, considering the fact that there's now going to be a mini set. So, all in all, I'm not surprised by the prices. They didn't skyrocket to the moon, and they probably won't skyrocket to the moon unless we get a ton of new players coming in, because of the fact that people just want to unlock for what they can move. And if that happens, it might even take a while if we get a ton of players to come in, because there's probably a lot of cards still sitting in dormant accounts, right, that will come back online if they can get some value for those cards, especially all of those botted accounts that are just sitting offline now. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Is this, is the reward cards unlock or unbind? Has the pricing surprised you in any way? Because it hasn't for me. And, is it terrible? Is it great? Like, I'm curious to know your thoughts now that we actually have some kind of stability and equilibrium in the market. So curious to hear your thoughts. Let me know in the comments below. Otherwise, I'll catch you all in the next one and see you around the game. Take care.